Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, parents think I ruined my brother's chances for recovery. EM calls me greedy while she takes all the unused meat at my wedding. Update 2: EM calls me greedy while she takes all the unused meat at my wedding. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Parents think I ruined my brother's chances for recovery. So my brother was in an accident a few weeks back, cleaning the gutters, and he fell off the ladder and hit his head on the concrete walkway in front of his house. Bad brain bleed, and it was not looking good for his chances. However, as time progressed, he was getting better and recovering a lot more than we thought he would. Towards the end of his stay, the hospital was going to release him to a local neurological rehabilitation facility by the name of Clover, name changed and all that. I've heard horror stories of the place, and I've been to that facility many times as an EMT on various calls, and while I've never seen signs of the horrors, I never felt particularly comfortable there. I expressed my concerns to my parents about the place, even saying that I wouldn't let my Nana go there even though we've never gotten along. She hates me and the feeling is mutual. Even with that, I'd not stick her there. My concerns were blown off. So I talked to the nurses there that were taking care of my brother, and they put my mind to ease. Clover Nursing Home is a hot mess and I had right to be worried. Clover Rehab, on the other hand, has a solid reputation as being a good rehabilitation facility and is not affiliated with the nursing home at all. Never having run any calls out there, I had no idea other than they existed. I relaxed, and that was that, or so I thought. Day of my brother's discharge, and they're no longer sending him to Clover. His insurance rejected that and instead opted for in-home rehab. My parents are convinced that I called up the insurance company and demanded that they not send him there, as if HIPAA laws would allow them to even talk to me without medical power of attorney. I tried to explain that, and that the decision was more likely due to the fact that his recovery has progressed to the point where the insurance company didn't think it was worth it to spend the money on a bed when in-home is cheaper, and his recovery has progressed so well. But now my mom and dad aren't speaking to me apart from one hate-filled rant about how I'm a horrible daughter and a disgrace for ruining my brother's chances for a full recovery. I recommend staying low contact with your parents. Their behavior toward you is sick and twisted. Don't reject them, but refuse to discuss the matter further. I wish you well as you live with the truths your parents showed you. This is a huge steaming pile of WTF ignorance and arrogance on the part of your parents. They are a lost cause. Protect yourself and your family from their toxic behavior. Sounds like Mummy Dearest and Dear OL Dad don't want to deal with brother and just want to pawn him off. So sad. They wouldn't have to deal with him. He's my slightly younger brother and is in the home care of his wife by now. They're just as pissed about as I am. Tell us your sibling is the golden child without saying your parents have a favorite. Yeesh. OP, if you don't live with them, stop contacting them. If you do live with them, plan to move out ASAP. I'm 49, mother of 3 of my own, all grown and out of the nest. I've long since moved out of there. They're going into communications timeout for a little while. Ugh, I'm so sorry. Can the ins company call and explain? I was thinking that too. Call the insurance company or whoever was the one to decide the change and have them explain it to your parents. They can assume all they want, but at the end of the day they're alienating you because of what? A miscommunication? I think for the time being, you should take a few steps back and simply refuse to engage with your parents on the subject of your brother. They are likely having to process a whole lot of grief, fear, and anxiety right now, and it sounds like they've chosen you to be their scapegoat for your brother's accident. Is that a role they've thrown you into in the past? Put them in timeout on all your social media accounts, your phone, and do not engage socially with them for now. I believe all of this is temporary. You have done nothing wrong, nor have you done anything to damage or ruin your brother's chances for a full recovery. You didn't break him, and you cannot in any way fix him. All you did was voice an opinion based on what you know from professional experience, something your parents are lacking. Had you not said anything and your brother was placed in clover and did not do well, guess who your parents would be blaming then? You. When everyone has a chance to calm down and get used to their new normal, I think your parents will see that they were wrong in what they did. Hopefully, they will find a way to apologize to you and you all can then go about the job of helping your brother heal. Until that happens, be as present and helpful to your brother as you can, all the while avoiding your parents as best you can. Good luck to all of you. Call their insurance, specifically the person they talked to, and have them explain why that decision was made. Explain to them like they are 5 years old. Your parents' reaction isn't about your brother's recovery. Your expertise as an EMT has eclipsed their parenting skills. They cannot accept that their daughter knows better what the brother needs, so they attack you, calling you the problem. EM calls me greedy while she takes all the unused meat at my wedding. Info I know will be asked. I and my wife paid for the wedding ourselves, no one else. EM helped with putting marzipan on the cakes as my wife's sister did the cakes, but she didn't feel so good at a point because of her medical condition. FYI, I don't blame her and she is not at fault for any of this, so I and wife had to make the decor and the fillings of the cakes. Some context, 24M and my now wife, 21F, recently got married. Kinda small wedding with about 25 guests attending, although it was supposed to be around 35 guests, but some were unable to attend last minute for non-important details, close family and friends. We had help from one of the guests with buying and preparing the food and also do the cooking at the wedding, grilled. As the guest works as a head chef/kitchen manager and does catering from time to time, she offered to help us with this, and the only thing we had to do was pay for the groceries. All the time preparing and cooking and planning was her and her fiancé's wedding gift to us. Would have cost between $1,000 to $1,500 if we hired her instead. She planned the meal so there would be enough for 40 people to make sure it was enough for the initial 35. Meaning a lot of leftovers now. So for the story, we have OP equals me, W equals wife, and EM equals my wife's entitled mother, and sis equals wife's sister. This story begins the day before the wedding when wife's dad informs that he doesn't want to attend. He had been weary if he wanted to attend to show support or if that was too much even. Note, we wanted to know who would attend 2 months prior, but EM and sis would attend. So they finished the last stuff for the cakes and then arrived. Sis was a bridesmaid, so she did her part during the ceremony. EM showed minimal support throughout the whole ceremony, the only person to not shed a single tear during the entire time, although it was very emotional. Even the wedding officiant and guests plus one cried a bit because it was very beautiful and emotional. But not EM. After dinner was finished and cake had been eaten and mingle time was at the end for guests not sleeping there, which means EM and is leaving as well. She asks to get some of the leftovers so that sis could have some lunch tomorrow. Bring the unopened meat, the sauces and dressings, and put the sauces in smaller containers so it was less for us to fix tomorrow. Wife said of course, cause that was reasonable, but I was more skeptical since this seemed very out of place for how she had acted during this whole ordeal, so I asked why they would bring them back to town. We live 2 minutes apart from them, and the wedding was 45 minutes away, and she said that they have a cooler because they brought the cakes, so if they brought the and used food it wouldn't spoil, and I double-checked with her and was clear she understood that it was only transporting it they would do so. And of course she understood that. They left and not much more happened until the day after. W dropped me off at our place and we started unloading everything, and while I sorted where they should go and unpacked all gifts and clothes, W picked up the sauce containers from their apartment that sis had prepared. EM had gone out to their caravan again. Yes, they have, so they can live somewhat comfortable. When she returned with just the sauce, I asked where the rest of the stuff was. She said EM must have forgotten it in the cooler and brought it to the caravan. We didn't think more about it at that point since we still had plenty of leftovers that had to be eaten first anyway. Fast forward to yesterday when all hell broke loose since today West was supposed to drive sis to the caravan so sis can be there until EP goes back at the end of the week. We borrow one of their cars to do this. We pay for the gas when we do it, and we ask first if it is okay to borrow. She texted EM and the following conversation ensued. W, did you take the meat to the caravan? EM, yes. W, have you eaten it? EM, no. W, could I bring it back home tomorrow when drive sis? EM, why? W, 'cause we want it. EM, fine, you can leave the car and garage keys at home. And you don't need to borrow the car anymore. We'll come and get sis ourselves, putting the meat in the fridge. W, wow. So just because we want the meat back that we paid for, that I didn't mean that you could bring it to the caravan, it was because you had a cooler, so it wouldn't spoil since it is vacuum sealed. I don't get to borrow the car anymore? EM, exactly, I think it's very greedy of you two to not treat us with the meat that I thought you meant I could bring. All we have given you two during your relationship. We have a limit too, you know. W writes again about how it was a wedding gift and apologizes if they misunderstood each other, and for example that OP's parents didn't bring anything from the wedding and didn't even ask. And that OP double-checked so EM understood that the unopened food was not theirs to keep. EM calls W, but I answer instead because W is crying and EM want to speak to W, but I inform that she is not fit for a call right now, but she is listening in the background if there was anything important. EM asks that W calls her when she is able to, and then I and her starts having an argument about the food again, paraphrasing a bit because it's not in English. EM, we took the unopened food because we could see that you two wouldn't be able to eat all of it before it got spoiled, and it was very greedy of us to not let us have it. OP, we didn't plan to keep all of it ourselves, but it is a wedding gift and we decide who should get what since there is a lot of other guests at the wedding who have also supported us through our relationship. But since it is a wedding gift, it's not only about the food but also that it's a matter of principles to not take others' wedding gifts because it's very rude and not at all okay without permission. EM, well, ask W to call us when she can. Bye. I calmed W down and walked the dog. And wrote a long text to EM to summarize the whole ordeal and to give her more perspective, and have still not gotten an answer back, nor has W almost 14 hours after I hit send. OP, hi, I'll try to get W to call you tomorrow so you can talk. And about the food, keep all of it ourselves, and some of the meat you took 3 different kinds was served at the wedding. You took all of the unopened and some are vacuum sealed and will be good for a long time as long as it stays frozen, so expiration date on that isn't an issue. Second of all, the food is up to us to divide and share as we seem fit, and we had planned to give most of it to one of my best men who had to leave before food was served, so he didn't get anything at the wedding, and he is couch surfing because he is homeless, long story, but he has a job again since almost a month back. But instead, you who are currently in your caravan in the archipelago and have half your freezer stuffed with meat, which most of it is venison, somehow felt more entitled to it. That's why we got mad, not because we are greedy. We, especially me, have a very different perception and opinion of what greed is. So if you or her dad have any problem with this ordeal, then scold me instead of W, since I will be less bothered about it. Hope this gives a little more perspective about this. This was the end of events for now until we have picked up the meat and if W decides to call EM. Sorry for the long post. I'd go get your meat before she lets everything thaw out. She'll respond with oops. I forgot to freeze it, so it's all had to be thrown out in an attempt to try keep it. I'm calling it now. Agreed, thawed meat is not safe at all. Go get it, screw the car, a car can always be hired. Yeah, I'd go get the meat. EM was trying to pull a fast one and got caught. Does she steal gifts from the wedding table at every wedding she attends, then calls the bride and groom greedy? She overstepped off the cliff of propriety and she knows it. My horrible mother did that. Literally stole gift envelopes off the table at our wedding reception. And didn't pay a dime towards it, but actually charged the musicians to stay at her house and made money off the whole thing. Someone was kind enough to make 2 plates for my husband and me to take to go, since we didn't really get to eat at the wedding, and a piece of the cake. The whole thing was my entitled mother's masterclass in grifting while playing the role of loving mother, HURK. she is definitely going to let it spoil out of spite before she will give it back. Nick the venison out of the freezer, and when challenged say, "Oh, I thought we were sharing meat now after the wedding, I didn't want it to go off before you had a chance to eat it." She's going to let it spoil out of spite so no one can have it, so I get up there and get it ASAP before that can happen. Instead of both of you fighting let wife's dad know what is going on and explain all this to him. If he can't straighten this out, then maybe it is time to go low contact with I don't understand why you don't have possession of your meat yet. Why didn't you just go and take it? What they did was theft. They manipulated you into letting them help you, and had no intention of giving you back your wedding gift meat. Go to their house and take it back. Bring a police officer if you need to as backup, and hopefully one with a horrible MIL so he can get some vicarious satisfaction as well. Why did you bring up that didn't cry at the ceremony? Weird thing to fixate on. And no, it doesn't matter that everyone else in the room did. Other than that, even if there was an honest misunderstanding to begin with, EM's a thief. No is a complete sentence. That, in this instance, should be followed by appropriate action to physically prevent her from taking anything. Update 2: EM calls me greedy while she takes all the unused meat at my wedding. So the day after the post, my wife got a text from EM that the meat and all leftovers that they hadn't eaten yet was in their fridge in the apartment. They came to town and left it there when they picked up wife's sister and went back to the caravan. They wanted us to take all of it since they weren't going to be home and didn't want us to throw anything at their place since they're not going to be home. I'm not a petty person and I'm gonna be the bigger person, so not going to. We have now cooked and ate some of the 5 pounds, 3 kg, yesterday and we're not sick, so it's all fine. Well, they wanted us to return the containers they used for the sauce and leftovers, which we did as well. I'm gonna give some of the cooked meat to my friend who is doing much better now. He got his first paycheck from the job, so things are getting somewhere. I've also unfriended her from social media but not blocked in case of emergency with my wife. But not gonna engage her at all until she apologizes, and that, my friends, will probably take a long time. Probably not going to update anything more about this specific event, but with a MIL who does this there might be more in the future, but probably will be posted in another sub specifically about Mills from Heck. Take care y'all, and thanks for the concerns and advice. Well done for taking the high road on this. My pettiest would have been tempted to leave it in their apartment. They'd never be able to get the awful smell of rot out of their fridge. Limiting contact sounds like a good idea though. Sometimes if the best for both parties to have some distance, it's a lot harder to argue if there's limited contact there and they can't see into your life as much. Also, I'm glad to hear your friend is doing better too. I hope you all enjoy the meat. I knew a woman whose aunt and cousin brought Tupperware containers to every event, wedding, baptism, shower, birthday, and scooped up the food to take home. Didn't wait until the party was over. They just decided when everyone had eaten and proceeded to load up the food. It was mind-blowing. Who has the audacity to do this? They had no shame. Even if MIL misunderstood, they didn't, when your wife explained that should have been an end to it. But no, she doled out the punishment: don't use our car. I don't agree with kill them with kindness. Be civil, yes. Polite, yes. Give them the benefit of the doubt, only sometimes. Your MIL is a greedy, entitled which M? And crazy. Your MIL is a greedy, entitled which? Don't ever leave her unsupervised with food again, or it will disappear. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.